Greetings in the name of the Most High Jah Rastafari. This is Igil Jen, Sister Jenny, Auntie Jenny. And if you want to get formalism, Miss Jennifer, Frederick, another edition of We Talk Greeting People. Today is Wednesday. Starting a little after 6, so we start one time. All my Facebook people, all my bounce up people, thank you all in advance for coming to hang out with me. So we start this thing. All And the National Pledge.
I solemnly pledge to dedicate my life to the service of my God and my country. I will honor my parents, my teachers, my leaders, and my elders, and those in authority. I will be clean and honest in all my thoughts, my words, and my deeds. I will strive in everything I do to work together with my fellow men of every creed and race for the greater happiness of all and the honor and glory of my country.
So, peeps, sometimes I love to do a lot of good news because I always say there's always something good to celebrate, even though we are in some kind of turbulent times. So I saw this and thought it was so good. It has to do with the children, getting them prepared for school. Let's take a So that was our Trinidad and Tobago Police Service there doing some humanitarian work. I guess understanding the situation that we are in, especially parents who had lost their jobs since this UNC government came into office. About 30,000, we know 10,500 from CPEP. We know persons from the reforestation and other agency would have lost their jobs. And I guess because I've never seen this done before, if I had, or if I didn't, and it happened before, it means I missed it. So that's the TDPS lending their support, they're combing the children hair and giving haircuts, getting them ready for school. So you want to thank the police service for what they are doing. So let me continue. People, I want you all to get out, all who here, all to get out all their pencil and paper, or pen and paper. We're going to history class today for a couple of minutes is important. I want you all to listen to this.
We did not really have slavery in Trinidad. Most of the Afro-Trinidadians that did come, that are here in Trinidad today, mostly claim as free people in the 19th century after slavery. My family, for example, the Maygus have been here for 6 generations in Trinidad, which is longer than most Afro-Trinis. We built villages in Trinidad, right, where there were none.
So that's this individual there who have given an opinion, told himself to be some academic. So I want to ask Mr. Kurt Mayhew. I think they call him Dr. Kurt Mayhew. I say him Kurt Mayhew. I want to ask him if what I'm hearing is correct, that he's saying that there were no enslaved Africans in Trinidad. That is free Africans who came here. I want him to answer me this. I won't tell him where I get the info. Let him go and search for it. I want to drop some information here now on Kurt Mayhew, because not all of we is asked Kurt Mayhew. And it's not all Africans you could put something in a book, or they like to say, if you want to hide something from an African, which is a myth, but you would like to go down that road. I didn't say you, I'm just saying all you. If you fall in that and you fall in your garden, is a business. So I want to address what you're saying here, that no enslaved Africans came to Trinidad. 1606, Kurt Mayhew, or Mayhew, 470 enslaved Africans were brought to Trinidad by the Dutch slaver called Isaac de Vanay. And that was 239 years before your great-great-great-grandmama and papa come from India on the indentureship. Let me say it again, and I wish somebody will tell Kurt Mayhew to listen. He might learn something today. He said, that is what I heard him say, that no enslaved Africans, I put it my way, came to Trinidad. So if no enslaved African came to Trinidad, he says only free Africans came here. And I want him to tell me how come in 1606, 400 enslaved Africans were brought here by a Dutch slaver named Isaac de Vanay, right? And that was 239 years before Kurt Mayhew, your ancestors, your proud Indian ancestors came to Trinidad. I want to continue. By the late 1600, so later down in 1606, later down in them years, enslaved African population in Trinidad had grown to about 7,000 people. That was late 16th century. That would have been about 1695, 1699, anywhere around there. This enslaved African population in Trinidad grew to about 7,000 strong. I'm going again. 177 years later. So all that time, the late 1600, it had 7,000 enslaved Africans here. And by 1783, under the Sedella of population, that is after, let me go again, 1783, Sedella population. The French owners, these plantation owners came to Trinidad with the enslaved Africans. When the Spanish wanted to get in on the sugar industry, and they put out a Sedella population, encouraging the French by giving them land and other things. When they come to Trinidad with the enslaved African, that was in 1783. Up to now, Kurt Mayhew, no indentured laborer has come to Trinidad yet. Let me move on. 1793. 1797, my mistake, 1797. Trinidad was ceded to the British, and there was a rampant growth in the slave population. Kurt Mayhew, up to now, your proud Indian indentured laborer ancestors, they come Trinidad yet. Let me continue. By 1813, a map was taken from the slave population of the British Caribbean Trinidad, and it showed the percentage of enslaved Africans was 50%. Want to hear that? Up to now, Kurt Mayhew or Gru, proud Indian ancestors, ain't reach here yet on the indentureship. All that time was enslaved Africans who was in Trinidad on the plantation and was working. Let me continue. 1829, because he wanted to say there was no enslaved Africans here, it was only free Africans come here. 1829, let me see if I find this thing here. Director, you could get it for me, where the runaway slave. Let me see if I find it here. The runaway slave. The runaway slave. Where is that? Director, if you're listening, could you find it for me? That again is to support what I'm talking about. Right, just now, let me see if it have anything below here. Nope. So I'm not seeing it on the board, and I didn't. Okay, you know what? You always could make do. Let me make do. You come here for no games with people like me who want to rewrite our history. Me, I come for them kind of games. Yes, no. No, not that. Wait, give me a minute, Olia. Give me a minute. Give me a full moment. Right. Now, Kurt Mayhew say it had no, that is what I understand it to be, that there was no enslaved Africans in this country. Only free Africans was here. San Fernando, September the 16th, 1829. Kurt Mayhew, proud Indian ancestors, they come here yet on the indentureship. So we here from the 16, 17, that is 100 years, 18, 200 years. Okay. I will come to something he just said about 6 generations. His Indian ancestors. And if them only come in 1845 and we here since 1606, whose ancestors here longer? But again, as I say, let me read this. Port of Spain Gazette 1829. Runaway from Philippine estate, 2 Negroes, one called Tanko, the other called Kojo, black. Both speak English and French. Kojo can read and write, about 5 feet 3 inches, lodging them in gold, or to the subscriber will receive a handsome reward. It was written by T.R. Crosby. So again, that is poking hole in what Kurt Mayhew said, because he said no enslaved Africans came to Trinidad. Only free Africans. I show this in 1606. 470 enslaved Africans were brought to Trinidad by a Dutch slaver. So let me continue. By 1834, we would have had the emancipation of African slaves, right? The indentured laborers ain't reached yet. 1845 now, 217 Indian indentured laborers came on Fazarasa. So between 1606, where enslaved Africans was in Trinidad, 470 of them. By later, that century there, or that year, 7,000 it rose to enslaved Africans. Then 1783, So there are, I want to let a thing with me and I say let's slow. 1783, so there are population, the French came with the enslaved Africans to meet the already 7,000 and more enslaved Africans in Trinidad. 1797, the population of enslaved Africans, it was rampant, meaning it grew. 1813, they show you a map at Trinidad that shows the percentage of enslaved Africans was about 50% of the population could make who ancestors they come yet. 1829, it showed you that 2 enslaved Africans run away, Kojo, and the next one, they put out a bounty on them to get them back. Kurt Mehu and Indian ancestors ain't reach yet. 1834, emancipation of enslaved Africans, Kurt Mehu ancestors ain't reach yet. When they came in 1845, it was 217 indentured Indian laborers who came on the Arse. Yeah? By 1911, the total population in Trinidad was 333,552. Afro-Trinidadians and Tobagonians were no longer the large majority, but made up a substantial portion of the population. No, that was the population of the whole of Trinidad and Tobago, which would have included indentured laborers because they were here since 1845. While we were not the largest majority group, again, we were a substantial portion. We made up a substantial portion of the population. They didn't say that the Indians, indentured laborers, was more than the Africans. They didn't say that. Because the whole population of Trinidad and Tobago would have included English, Dutch, Spanish, French, Chinese, Africans who were freed, and those who came, and Indian indentured laborers, because indentureship didn't finish until 1917. Even with the introduction of the Indian indentured laborers in 1845, by 1911, they were not the majority group. And that was 66 years later after they came in 1845. In 1921, in Trinidad, the whole population had increased by 32,361. It went up to 365,913. And that was after 3 years after the ending of indentureship. Based on these figures, this is from Professor Bridget Brereton. Based on these figures, the African population in 1917, that was the end of indentureship, would have been significantly larger than it was at emancipation in 1834. And a major ethnic group, though it was not on par with, is slightly smaller than the growing Indo-Trinidadian population. So then in 2011, the census showed 2011, so I'm coming from quite 1921. I come into 2011, very recent vintage. The TNT census showed that Afro-Trinidadians was 34.2% and Indo-Trinidadians was 35.4%. That is not a large percentage between. Why am I bringing up that? Kurt Mehu mentioned that 144,000 indentured laborers came to Trinidad. I want to ask him if he meant between 1845 and 1917. Because if 144 Indian indentured laborers came between 1845 and 1911, where they went? Because how come the population of Indo-Trinidadians to this day is not more than 35.4%? How come in 1921 it only had 365,913 people? How come in 1911, before the end of indentureship, it only had 333,552? I'm asking Mr. Ask Kudmehu, where the 144 Indian indentured laborers went? If you want to make it that there was such a small group of people of African descent who you say didn't come here as slaves was here, if you were to go on what you say, where the 144,000 indentured Indians went, they didn't procreate, or they went back India, or they started to go to migrate to Canada already, or they went to Guyana. Where were they? Because you saw there was a steady growth of enslaved Africans from 1606 right down to 1921. And that was after the end of indentureship. So when you want to come to us, Kudmehu, I want to sprout your misinformation for whatever purpose you want to sprout it. Know that not all of we ask out here. And we do read, and we do understand, and we do look into history, and we know about history. Because when your Indian ancestors came here, it already had a thriving society where there were people of African descent, were doctors, were barristers, physicians, teachers, all those things were happening there. Because at the end of the day, whether it was mulatto or African, you was considered African. Once you have a drop African blood in you, you was considered African. So they had some of our African ancestors who were lighter colored than me, but their DNA African. Because some part of their ancestry, the grandfather was of African descent, enslaved African, the father or the mother, vice versa. So I'm saying all this to say, don't come wrong with and bullshit we could make. You now came off as speaking about Dr. Eric Williams was not the first Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. And I want to show you something. This is what Botiwari would have said on the, what anniversary of independence was that when they were in office? 1962 to 2012. So in 2012, this is what Botiwari would have said. Let me just read it here proper. Don't come wrong me with your foolishness, boy. Little boy, don't come wrong me with your foolishness. Your little accent you have, your little false accent you have. So this is what Botiwari would have said. Tribute will be paid to Eric Williams. Tiwari was speaking in an interview at his office, Level 13 Financial Complex, Port of Spain, on Monday. He said all the money spent was going to the artists, participants, and people involved in managing the activity. He said, we have been able to do so is to bring, what we have been able to do is to bring confidence to the artists and confidence to our people. A 5-day cycling event will soon be launched and some international cyclists are expected to participate. Tiwari said. He said he paid tribute. He said tribute will be paid to Dr. Eric Williams, who was responsible for Trinidad and Tobago gaining independence, despite the detractors who think the government will not acknowledge him for a significant contribution. This is Botiwari saying again. The reenactment will take into account the fact that independence was brought to this country under his stewardship as first premier and then prime minister in 1962. And we acknowledge the tremendous achievement that was his contribution. We do not wish at all to deny the value, the significance, and the contribution that Dr. Eric Williams made to this country. Kurt May, who put your blasted head in a paper bag, is an intellectual dunce. That is my opinion. Because Botawari, who was, Lisa Columbia, was the man of faith, principle of fairness, I think, wasn't he the principal of UWI at one time? He acknowledged in 2012 the contribution of Dr. Eric Williams, the late great, as the Premier and Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, all his contributions and his bringing us to independence. So let me continue. So Kurt Mehu, again, he would have tried to falsely write Dr. Eric Williams out of our history. I want to read this by one who right now, he had so far up the UNC bottom, all he's seen is yellow. One I just call, my opinion, sellout Kojo. This is what sellout Kojo, this is my opinion, would have written September the 11th, 2021. It says here by Dr. Selwyn Kojo, the central Dr. Williams, designating the PNM. The UNC represents the true spirit of Trinidad and Tobago. All the poor, humble working people, farmers, small business owners, ordinary men and women, from north to south, east to west, central, the urban, the suburban, the rural, the swampland, the coastal and floodland, the hills and the lagoons. In fact, that is what Kurt May grew right. So Selwyn Kojo was making reference to Kurt May. So here what Kurt May grew, or whoever say. He said the UNC represent in 2020. The UNC represent the true spirit of Trinidad and Tobago, all the poor, humble working people, farmers, small business owners, ordinary men and women, from north to south, east to west, central, the urban and suburban, the rural, the swampland, the coastal, and the floodplains, the hills and the regions. Kurt May, who said that. This now is what Selwyn Kojo had to say. It my checklist 2021. If V.S. Naipaul was Kurt Maygrew's intellectual guru initially, he later turned to Lloyd Best for his intellectual guidance and direction. Since a half-made society, a term that Naipaul used disparagingly, is a literary conceit. It could not bear the sociological weight that Mayhew thrust upon it. Mayhew argued that politics in a half-baked society, thereafter politics, was a slight reworking of his doctoral dissertation. This led Anton L. Alahar, professor emeritus at the University of Western Ontario, to write, I have never seen a doctoral dissertation in the social sciences that was devoid of a theoretical perspective and a clear statement of methodology. That is what Professor Professor Alahar would have said. And who is Professor Alahar? Let me just get it here for you. Professor Alahar was, or is, Professor, Department of Sociology and Psychology and Social Work, UWI Mona, Department of Sociology, University of Western Ontario, Canada. That is who Professor Alahar is. So he was doing a review of Kurt Mehrew's book called Politics in a Half-Baked Society. And what Kojo was saying is that Mehru has said that was his dissertation when he was doing his PhD, and he would have rewritten it. So Kojo was making reference to that. This led Anton Alahar, Professor Emeritus Writer, read that already. Let me continue. Realizing the futility of his assertion that Trinidad was a half-made society, Mayhew joined Best in adopting, that would be Lloyd Best, in adopting the proposition that there are 13 racial and national groups in Trinidad alone. It is a concept that Best picked up from Daniel Crowley and adapted to his Tapir movement in 1982. Trinidadians, Crowley said, acculturate themselves very easily to many different groups, which presumably prevents them from voting in an exclusively racial manner. In politics, that is Mehru's book, Mehru argued confusingly that the influence of Trinidad and Tobago politics is real, but the extent of its significance is questionable. Bess Crowley, that is the two authors of the idea that Mehru is arguing very unconvincingly. Many non-theists allowed Mehru to argue that what analysts claim as racialist politics in TNT amounts to not much more than competition for office and demands for a share of government patronage in terms of jobs, business contracts, directorship, state funding, and so on. There's an intellectual emptiness of politics in TNT. Ethnic groups are politically mobilized without ethnic demands, partly because there are no creative ideas, movements, or vision forwarded that can inspire or win the confidence of a large cross-section of the country. That main parties live without ideas, as Cyril R. James famously remarked. Mehru devoured these ideas ravenously, and in 2005, he moved to annihilate the PNM and UNC. On October the 1st, he sent the following memo to his colleagues in the Committee for Transformation and Progress, the non-political formation he used as a forerunner to his party, the Democratic National Alliance. We have been talking to elements within the UNC. I don't see why we can't also talk to elements in the PNM. They are both disgusting. I hate talking to the UNC as much as I hate talking to the PNM. That is Mehru saying them thing. The UNC represent everything wrong with our country. Insularity, lack of vision, what is this? Parochialism, ethnocentrism, valet mode of operating, selective enforcement of rules, deception and dishonesty, corruption, no thought about wider responsibility, and no national feeling. That is Mehru saying about the UNC. The PNM realizes our value more than the UNC. The UNC are uncultured barbarians. They did Vision 2020, for example. They would never invite me to be vice chair on a group. Our strategy and the PNM. The DNA was formed, that is Kurt Mehru political party, was formed in October 2006 after a full year of work as C4TAP to challenge PNM and UNC, for whom Mehru had little respect. Its core principles were decency, nationalism, and accountability. In 2007, he fought for the Shoguna's East seat under the UNC alliance and lost badly, with a mere 0.01% of the vote. In 2013, he contested the Shoguna's West by-election for the UNC. He received 35 votes. His performance demonstrated a lacune between his political theories and real politics. In spite of his election defeat, Mehru still possessed the gumption to make large declarative statements that he pronounced with an air of analytical certitude. He declared in ethnic mobilization. It took 30 years to create a national party, the PNM, in 1956, and 30 years to dislodge them from government in 1986, despite the almost universal rejection of the PNM by 1970. Currently, a large number of citizens are fed up with both political parties, yet no viable new party has yet been firmly established, and the new parties that have offered themselves for election have been unsuccessful. Given his election performance, even his inability, that's Kojo talking now, given his election performance, even his inability to build a party, one is led to ask what gives Mehru so much confidence in his analytical abilities. More importantly, how are we to take his claims about UNC achievement and his fervor for their excellent work over the past 32 years, and his declaration that UNC is the only Trinidad origin party that truly respects the distinctiveness of the island and the people of Trinidad. Working with them is true partners and equals. Meru may be good at hyperbole, and for Papa, these people, and the set of words, verbosity, but he is poor at analysis. This is something that Professor Al-Lahar declared when he reviewed politics in 2005. That is the book that Meru wrote. This is what Professor Al-Lahar had to say. What I understand him, Meru, to say in his book is tedious, descriptive, politically nondescript, and intellectually thin. While Meru is flamboyant and good at rehashing historical data, he is poor at theorizing what happened in the past and predicting what is likely to occur in the future. That is why Meru can make extreme bombastic statements and do not concur or do not cohere with the reality that ordinary people see around. So given the dissonance between Meru's word and his political performance, it is difficult to accept his claim of UNC distinctiveness and the capability to work with Trinbagonians as true partners and equals, when his words contradict whatever progressive tendency exists within the UNC. Meru should think carefully before he utters his disingenuous statements. He only fools himself rather than a discerning public when he does that. Right? So that was Professor Selwyn Peugeot talking there. And everybody, it seems, I put it my way, seem to be saying, in my opinion, that Kurt Meru is an intellectual fraud. That's my opinion. Historically, he's not a historian. Professor Al-Lahar has said that he is not a historian. And he's mixing up issues. Let me read again something that Professor Al-Lahar said, right? Because this is the Kurt Meru who have one set of mouth now and talking. This is what Professor Al-Lahar said. Kurt Meru is clearly not a historian. The factually based overview Meru seeks to present is abundantly available in a variety of primary historical documents and a host of other reputable secondary sources authored by each notable scholar as Eric Williams and C.L.R. James. Owing to the very detailed recounting of information that exists in other places, the book is longer than it ought to be, and bulk of what Meru had said is less compelling than his attempt to avoid a theoretical statement concerning the politics of race in the introduction and the conclusion. This is Professor Ara continues saying, I would say therefore that as a book, the publication of this volume is somewhat premature. There are clear ways of converting a doctoral dissertation to a monograph, but these were not followed in this case. So nobody has any faith. And that is his book out there, that he Politics and Half-Baked Society. That may not must be about 2 people must buy it. Right? Nobody have no faith in this man and his writings and the things he's saying. So let me continue. So we blow that out the water. What he talking about, there was no enslaved Africans who were here, is only free slaves that came here, free people, African people come here. We blow that out the water. We in Trinidad since 1606 till now. That is more generation than the generation he boasted of his ancestors being here. And I want to tell Kurt Meru something. This conversation that all they want to mix enslavement with indentureship to say is the same. Don't come wrong me with them bullshit. This is big people talk today. Don't come wrong with that. 2 different things complete. Indentureship was a choice to come here, running from the inhumane caste system in India. We had your ancestors, Meru, Kurt Meru, had them living as Dalits, untouchables in India, because all their ancestors came from Bihar and Uttar Pradesh. No Brahmin wasn't running to come Trinidad to work on no plantation because the Brahmin and them and the other three castes in the Varna system, they were merchants, teachers, pundits. Them were the higher caste. The untouchables, the Dalit wasn't even a part of the four Varnas. They were relegated to cleaning filth off the street in India because India had I'm putting it my way, India had a policy of open defecation. So you needed somebody to clean up that when it finished. And that's what the Dalits used to do. They could challenge me if they want. It's okay, it is written there. I don't have to tell them to go and find it. They were cleaning filth off the street, cleaning cesspits, digging and rumbling in rubbish to get to, because things was hard for Dalits in India. And I'm happy they were able to escape that living to come Trinidad to think this out. I will not say living on the plantation was easy, but it was far easier than people who were kidnapped from a continent where our ancestors were kings and queens and we had kingdoms. Those things could be proven. Just 3 years ago, if not, the Ashantini king came here to Trinidad with his own jet plane. He didn't come and BWIA and Blue Jet and Cal. He owned private jet plane and gold more than Mirage and Sons have. He had the maidens and them dancing and the this turban, all them kind of thing. We saw it for ourselves. So when we talking about we come from Africa, kings and queens, that is not a conversation we make up. As Kermit, who want to say we making up, we make up nothing, darling. I want to suggest to you, Kermit, that it may be some of you all who have made up all their history since all they come in 1845. Because if you check, I think it's Dr. Sherry and Mohammed, if I'm not mistaken, in Costa there, she does give it real. She does give it real. And I remember Mr. Panda saying, God rest his soul, Brahmin by boat. Meaning no, Brahmin didn't come here. And as I said, there was no need for Brahmin to come here. They may have come after 1917. But during 1845, it was Dalits coming here. And what happened when they came on Fazal Razak, they realized they know one another, they take Brahmin name. So when I want to talk about all the ancestors who was here before and what they build and build, we build here before all they come. We cut down all the trees. We get sting and kill from poisonous snakes and all kind of things. When all they come at that plane, they didn't have nothing to cut down. And we were making money for England before indentured laborers come here. We were making money in the sugarcane field before. So don't get it twisted. We were carpenters, we were masons, we were tradesmen, because you think is the slave owners build their own house? As we help them build all them castle and all them house. Get it right. When all I want to talk about African history, come straight. I don't have a problem, all they're proud of Indian heritage, or they should be very proud. But don't try to delegate African history. Don't compare enslavement with indentureship. It is two different things. Two different things. So let me continue. So he spoke about Dr. Eric Williams and want to write about the history. I want to tell Kurt Mayu something. You wrote a book in 2005, Politics in a half-made society, something to that effect. 2005. And it didn't get good reviews at all. In fact, they find you should not publish that. It is historically inadequate, and you can't build up your arguments at all. But Dr. Eric Williams, the man who Botuari in 2012 admitted was the first premier and first prime minister of Trinidad and Tobago, was responsible for independence and other contribution in this country, wrote a book called Capitalism and Slavery in 1944. 1944. And to this day, just up until 2023, which should have been 56 years later, there was a big debate on the legacies and the new directions for research based on Dr. Eric Williams' book, Capitalism and Slavery. Here who some of the speakers were: Kurt Mego, Dr. Heather Coteau, UWI of St. Andrews, Dr. Stephen Mullen, University of Glasgow, Professor Harvey Neptune, Temple University, Philadelphia, Professor Melissa Ono George, University of Oxford, Professor Matthias J. Smith, University College of London, and chair. And in other words, they said, Eric Williams' Capitalism and Slavery, 1944, remains a powerful and influential work of historical scholarship. Eric Williams' book Capitalism and Slavery was first published in 1944. It was and remains a fundamental importance for the understanding of slavery in the British Caribbean and its relationship to the development of the British capitalism. That is what they're still saying to this day about Dr. Eric Eustace Williams' book, Capitalism and Slavery. What they're saying about your book today, you know, let me read what they say again about your book that you write in 2005. Compared to a book that was written in 1944. Waste of fletching time, boy. Come again. Come again. You're not ready. You ain't ready for Dr. Eric Williams. You're not ready for Dr. Eric Williams. Kurt Mego was clearly not a historian. The factual based overview Mego seeks to present is abundantly available in primary historical document and a host of other reputable secondary source authored by notable scholars as Eric Williams, C.L.R. James. Basically, what Professor Arse is saying, all what he put in the book, them historical facts, is thing you could get in a primary, must be primary school or primary book. Anyway, you could get them information. That is something that you can't find. It was already said before. So he brought nothing new when he brought those historical context for his book. But you know what historical context and things to the book that up to this day they read about it? Dr. the Honorable Eric Eustace Williams, first Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, that had you, Kurt Mego, and all your ancestors enjoying what are they enjoying of free education. So let me move on from that. I had enough for you. I deal with that already. I was good enough, but I had to bring it. I had to bring it to people. They will not diminish the work of my ancestors, my African enslaved ancestors in Trinidad. Not diminish the work of Dr. Eric Williams in this country. Not when it have all that information out there. So, rock for your little boy, your little duncy head boy. My opinion. So, let me move on. So, people, so I see the industrial court. The industrial court has a new judge appointed. Rudranath Indar Singh. Rudranath Indar Singh, who just recently was given his support to the UNC. Rudy Indar Singh. But they had a problem with Larry Achong. But Rudy Indar Singh is now on the industrial court. And I asked him a question. Is it all about making sure they put things in place so that when African people start to carry their matters industrial court because of them being fired indiscriminately by the UNC government, that they have somebody on board who will throw the cases? I asked him that based on, this was 2025, recently the third or the fourth month. Rudy praised for his loyalty to the UNC. Incumbent Couva South MP Rudranath Indar Singh, who was not selected to contest his seat in the upcoming general election, was praised by his colleagues for his loyalty and discipline. Indar Singh was one of the speakers at UNC community meeting in David on Tuesday night, one day after opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar announced at Eid celebration in Princestown that he was being replaced by Barry Padara. So just recently, he was praised. Rudy Indar Singh, he was praised for his loyalty to the UNC. Did that loyalty earn him a space on the industrial court as a judge? And I want to bring this to all a while. I believe it could be because of that. I'm going back to this that I always read because it seems very factual. This was Dr. Vishnu Beshram. He said, it appears that Indian leadership or Indian leaders are more attracted to the trappings of cocktail parties, first-class travel, five-star hotels, etc., of being in office rather than in bringing about meaningful change in a society or genuinely representing the interests of their supporters. Appeasing the other side and neglecting their own supporters became the hallmark of their policy. Filling their own pockets through kickbacks, awarding government contracts became their number one priority. They did everything to make a quick buck for themselves, and they set up close relatives in business rather than doing something to ameliorate poverty and suffering of their supporters or the society as a whole. Loyalty rather than competence was rewarded. The Indian party became the party of one-man rule. And just recently, this year, Rudy Indar Singh was praised for his loyalty to the UNC. Okay. Let me get something else here. Again, this is somewhat, let me tell you something. The intellectuals, Indian intellectual in Guyana, totally different than them in some of them Indian intellectual in Trinidad. No, them just call it as you see it, because it's about presenting empirical information. Like they're more conscious of the fact that they want to be credible than some of these Indian intellectuals in this country. So this again was the writings of, was it again Dr. Vishnu Beshram, director, I think it was, just as little party said. The egotism of politicians of minor parties, Indians in particular, is the main cause for their political problems. Had they accepted some independent political analysis, they would have been empowered. They would have been empowered to influence political decision making in their home. So he spoke about egotism. Yeah? Egotism, he said, particularly in Indian politicians. He said, in Trinidad experienced a similar outcome 2007 to 2020. Polls conducted by its writer 2007 showed minor COP winning a lot of votes but no seat. The polls found if the opposition UNC and COP entered into an accommodation, they would win the election. The COP refused to enter into an accommodation with UNC, confident of victory on its own. It won no seats, as my polling forecasted, and in 2007 election results showed, had it entered into an accommodation, they would have formed the government. So what the writer of this, and I think it's Dr. Vishnu Beshram, saying, egotism, especially of the Indian politician, does cause the demise, my words, right? So let me continue with this. So Rudy gets his reward based on what I would have read there. So this is what has recently happened in the Caribbean Sea. It's something we all should be concerned about, especially when you hear the rhetoric of the person who's supposed to be the prime minister of this country. Listen to this.
It's not just the country, but the entire Caribbean basin. These particular drugs were probably headed to Trinidad or some other country in the Caribbean. at which point they just contribute to the instability these countries are facing. So the president's been very clear that he's going to use the full power of America and the full might of the United States to take on and eradicate these drug cartels, no matter where they're operating from and no matter how long they've been able to act with impunity. Those days are over. This is a counter-drug operation. We're going to take on drug cartels wherever they are and wherever they're operating against the interests of the United States. The president's top obligation is to secure the national interest and the national security of our people. I know of no president that means that more than this one, our president now, President Trump. And so, but I'm not.
Right? So, just recently, probably a day ago, it is said that some, I don't know if it's a pirogue or a fast boat or a yacht or whatever, was blown out of the water, 11 killed, because it is said that it was some boat leaving Venezuela with drugs. It was alleged. Right? Again, my concern is that things are done the right way. Any help the Caribbean could get to treat with this guns and drugs and all that is welcome, but it must be done within the law, and people's sovereignty must be respected. So that happened. Listen to the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago.
Good afternoon. I'm Doris Polo with headline news on CNC3 and the TBC Radio Network. Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar is facing mounting criticism at home and abroad after her strong endorsement of a recent U.S. military strike on a Venezuelan drug vessel, where she remarked that the U.S. should, quote, kill them all violently. While the opposition leader is calling for a retraction, international relations experts are cautioning the head of government to watch her tone. Professor Emeritus of International Relations Anthony Bryan warned that her words are destabilizing and goes against TNT's historical position of neutrality. He adds that as tensions appear to escalate, tempered tones are crucial.
I think we have to tread cautiously and not be vociferous in the way in which the Prime Minister has been. Yes, it's all right to be friends with President Trump, but you don't have to become the incarnation of President Trump.
Newly appointed Industrial Court Judge Rudranathan Darsingh says his work on the bench will prove his impartiality despite his long-standing ties to the ruling party.
I don't need to hear at all. I was just saying my opinion. I like to give people a little nickname. I know people just give me nickname too, of course. I was probably speaking much. Can't wait to hear he talk at all. So Kamla Persad-Bissessar has doubled down on her conversation with Venezuela. This is some of the things she would have said. Let me read it again. Let me just read something here from the opposition leader she would have put out. And I'll come to her later on. Remind me, somebody pop a message and tell me. Forwarded Prime Minister Persad-Bissessar has fallen. Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar has fallen into a pattern of issuing WhatsApp messages to avoid proper media scrutiny and an appropriate degree of public clarity. Her latest WhatsApp missive, in which she declared that the United States of America should kill them all violently, is reckless, disgraceful, and inconsistent with the oath she has taken to uphold the Constitution and the law. It is completely unbecoming of our head of government, who is expected to be more prudent in her language. Her inflammatory social media outputs draws our country into unnecessary conflict over which we have little or no control, and could put our legitimate fisher folks, offshore workers, and other workers in the maritime space at increased risk. Furthermore, it disregards the potential for heightened tensions between Venezuela and the United States, which can be best reduced through prudent and diplomatic engagement. Was CARICOM consulted or engaged before such unprecedented alignment with foreign military action? Given the Prime Minister's scant regard for CARICOM, we must question whether she engaged in any consultation with our CARICOM colleagues before this new round of public cheerleading for military action. Additionally, Given the insufficient varying and contrasting details provided on the regional public, it would be important for the Prime Minister to give some clarity on the location of the vessel in question and additional clarity on any coordination with the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard. The opposition is clear. We support strong and decisive action against drug trafficking, but it must be lawful, coordinated, and respectful of our national values and international obligations. We therefore call on the Prime Minister to immediately retract a reckless statement, to appear before the media, and to provide the public with proper answers. We again remind the Prime Minister of her responsibilities as the assigned CARICOM leader and regional security. And we are troubled that none of her commentary since the most recent deployment of foreign troops reflects any commitment to fulfill Trinidad and Tobago's coordination obligation in such regard. Trinidad and Tobago deserves leadership that is strong, wise, and responsible. We cannot and ought not to support impulsive, inflammatory, dangerous rhetoric that can undermine our security and credibility. The Honorable Penelope A. Beckers, MP, Leader of the Opposition, September the 3rd, 2025. This is a gentleman I love to read his stuff, but before I read his stuff, let me just read this. This man, I just think Ronquillo, Ralph Mirage this is my opinion, is a blasted disgrace. And he does look like if you only crack a rum bottle, just the crack alone and he go get drunk. That's my opinion. Ralph Mirage is the ambassador to CARICOM. And here what this, my opinion again, looking like if rum cure him. With reports of United States missile fire on a maritime target linked to Venezuela, trends the Aragua gang killing 11 on board, TNT CARICOM Ambassador Ralph Mirage has praised the welcome new momentum in TNT/US relations, which he said developed under Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar. This man is such an... Listen, Ralph Mirage, if you don't have no joy in living, if you have no joy in your life, and you're still caught up with issues with your son, God rest his soul, that has nothing to do with us. Go sort out your sort outs. Because you and your Prime Minister ain't making no sense. And I see now the Commissioner of Police jumping that. What is the Commissioner of Police getting involved in that conversation for? Your job is to treat with crime on land, Trinidad and Tobago, supporting America in blowing out a vessel in the international waters where it have all kind of laws and this and that, and supporting that is not the right thing to do. Because if it was a case of somebody in Trinidad, only when I had to get the case proper, whether this, create a DPP and all that. One party says this and only just go on with that dress so. No investigation, nothing, and only just yapping all their mouth. Be careful what all they're doing again. I have nothing against America helping the Caribbean to counteract drugs, drug cartel, and guns. I have no problem once it is done within the law. So, Ralph Mirage, if you have no joy in your living, go live in your unhappiness by yourself. And the same thing with our Prime Minister. Madam Prime Minister, if you find no joy in your living, go and be unhappy with you and Gregory in our mansion. It have enough space there. And leave Trinidad and Tobago because not everybody supporting what you are trying to put this country in. And all who feel this is a joke, and you ain't seen office now and they're taking a good stand, or they do not understand international diplomacy, or they don't understand the ravages of war, or they don't understand A small country like we getting ourselves inside of that bacchanal when everything done and America gone back in their home in America and leaving Trinidad and Tobago to fend for themselves to face the rest of CARICOM and all who have issue with we for the stands we prime minister making. Our prime minister is supposed to be diplomatic, keep it simple and short. I support any effort by the Americans to help us treat with crime in the region or land, and all laws must be respected and sovereignty must be expected. All done. Okay. So Larry Lana would have written, neither in the US nor in TNT, it is the law that a penalty for drug trafficking is summarily execution without due process. That is, without being arrested, charged, facing a trial, and having the prosecution prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt. In fact, even when guilt is proven, the penalty is not death by execution. So, by what standard is this appropriate? And when we say kill them all violently without affording them any due process, is the TPSS, Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, now to do the same here? Is this where we are going? You see what I'm talking about? And the Commissioner of Police is endorsing what America did. Where we really going? Remember recently, they were in the Punisher on the shoulder. The Punisher, there is some character who does take, what do you call the thing? Vigilante justice. Let me put things into context, you know. They want stand your ground. Okay, they want gated community. You know, all the time was stand your ground and get a gun. No gated communities. And have panic room and panic button. Okay. All right. Yeah. Let me continue. So let me just read this here. It's by Michael Edmund Young. I really love the way he writes. He and Mr. Lennox something. Kamala Kurt and the architecture of authoritarian drift. Kill them all violently. Those weren't Trump words on Truth Social. They came from Kamala Persad, our prime minister, celebrating a U.S. missile strike in Caribbean waters. No hesitation, no thought for sovereignty or what it means to have foreign forces conducting executions at our doorstep. Just raw delight in orchestrated death, kissed with a prayer. May God protect the US military. The performance is the point Kamala claims to speak for most of the country. A people brutalized by cartel violence. But she offers nothing to fix the problems here at home. No policy, no analysis. Just a chair for killing, emphasized with the unnecessary flourish violently. That's not crime fighting. That's populist theater feeding a crowd that wants blood. And now put that beside Kirks Mayhew, the director of public relations, who just yesterday tried slipping Grantley Adams into our history books as Trinidad and Tobago's first prime minister. At first, it looks sloppy, but propaganda doesn't always arrive in jackboots. It comes as small rewrites, repeated until they calcify into truth. That straight squealer out of Animal Farm. And Orwell saw the bigger pattern. In 1984, he warned, who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past. You see it here. Megru works on the past, fiddling with memory. Kamala grabs the present, pushing bloodthirsty populism and presenting drone strikes as national salvation. Together, they set the stage to control the future, a place where lies pass for history and violence pass for policy. The shape is clear enough. One side normalizes deception, the other normalizes brutality. Side by side, they build a machinery of authoritarianism. And look around us. We are living under a state of emergency, supposedly because criminal gangs are targeting ministers. Yet those same ministers are out at cricket matches and VIP cocktail parties. If the threat is dire enough to suspend constitutional rights, why do the targets act like nothing's happening? The contradiction couldn't be plainer. It smells less like security and more like political papi show. That's the real connection between Meghru historical tinkering and Kamla's violent rhetoric. Both aim to teach the public to swallow contradictions. Both condition us to accept distorted reality as normal. Once you learn to ignore obvious lies, like ministers partying during their own security crisis, you are halfway trained to accept much worse. So this isn't just a case of reckless language or sloppy history. It's a systematic drift into politics that trades in rage and fears instead of governance. Populist at its most corrosive, the knife edge of fascism. And the machinery only works if we stop noticing the seams. The same Kamla Prasad Bissessa, who is praising the US Army for blowing a ship out of the water that it is suspected to be trafficking drugs, is the same Kamla Prasad Bissessa's opposition leader who call our Coast Guard men and women murderers when they were defending our waters, when they told a ship, a boat coming in the waters to stop. And the boat didn't stop and was coming to ram them, they leg of fire. And unfortunately, a little baby died. Kamla Prasad Bissessa called them murderers. Today, the same Kamla Prasad Bissessa is hailing the US military as heroes for what the news say, killing 11 people in some boat it is suspected or alleged or whatever it is with some drugs or something like that. Tell me them people right. And that is what we're comfortable with in this country. We told all you, and I have to keep saying it, Dominic Romaine, before you was a member of parliament, we calling all on radio and telling all you, all was making the live and telling all you, all was on radio with the programs telling all you, if all you vote for the UNC, what will happen to this country? All you take chain up talks from all you, from same PNM people who going to tell people and they care. All I say, never say I lie. Going and tell people, don't come out and vote. Don't vote for Stuart Young. Don't vote for no Chinese. It's definitely the PNM laws. The PNM laws before we go build back. And PNM is a black party and it's for black people and black this and black that. All you take that set of chain up. Today we in we houses studying here, boom, you're wondering where it coming from. Other than the normal crime in this country, you're wondering what the hell happened out in them waters out there now. Some of all your daughters, all your sons, all your husbands, all your nephews, all your family working offshore. I'm sure they're frightened now because they used to already have a hard time sometimes with the Venezuelan National Guard or whatever you call them. Now it have warship out there. Any shit could jump off and they end up collateral damage. The fishermen, all their husbands, all their wife, all their children as fishermen, legitimate fishermen, had to go out there how they're feeling and mother when they're leaving to say they're going to fish to make an honest living. That they're going out there and anything could happen. Because it have all them warship and all that in the waters out there. And Kamla Prasad Bissessa is igniting this thing by putting Trinidad and Tobago in the middle of this bacchanal. So people in the outer world feel she's speaking for all 1.5 something million people. Is Kamla Prasad Bissessa speaking for you? I want to ask all of you today, is Kamla Prasad Bissessa, our Honorable Prime Minister, is she speaking for you? Okay. Let me continue. So Kamla Prasad Bissessa is saying, kill them violently. Those in drugs and kill them violently. I want to know if she's saying the same thing. I want to let her listen to this and tell me if she's saying the same thing when it comes to the allegation make about she own. Listen to this. I didn't make it up.
And pay attention to the message. And the population will continue to get the kind of leadership that they like. They like the move along and talk, and Kamala is queen, and guys with queen, and she's royal, and this kind of nonsense. And it will be business as usual to the United National Congress.
Yeah. So it's
5 more years of opposition for them. That's all.
Is it then that the one of the next steps also is for you to hand over additional information to the police?
I hand over all I have in my memory at this point in time. I'm available for any further clarification that they require. But I only got involved in this when I saw the hypocrisy during the debate in Parliament on the CIA report on human trafficking, when the UNC had the temerity to get up to talk about it and to cast aspersions when persons harbored on their own life and their own political party are actively and aggressively engaged in this over the years, which I am aware of.
Dr. Devon Maraj, thank you very much for speaking with us this morning.
Dr. Devon Maraj, who is a UNC as far as I know, he would have said, not we say, he said, people in the UNC involved in human trafficking. Isn't that what the Americans out there in the international waters to stop drug traffickers, human traffickers, and gun runners and all them things? And Dr. Devon Maraj tell me that it have human traffickers in the UNC, and Kamala Prasad sister now tell the US, kill them violently. I just asking all you know, Ashwa Legaton don't leave no message on my Facebook page. You're a nasty individual. I don't have no time with no little panty man kind of thing. Don't leave no message. Don't watch me live, nothing. Don't leave no message. Or there's no kind of man at all. Or there's man at woman. So let me continue. Listen to this one too. Same Courtney, well, listen.
That ringed the country, connected by the 360-degree radar that we bought, that could have seen into Florida and Brazil, that would have seen anything coming linked by sonar boys equipped with fast attack helicopters and interceptor boats, would have stopped and searched every marine craft out at sea for drugs, guns, human trafficking, and other contraband. And it would have ended drug trafficking and money laundering in this country. How come the UNC did not do that? One.
So you have these corrupt elements everywhere in the society, and they will infiltrate political parties. I'm not stupid. We all do that.
Dr. Kirk Megu, are you saying that the UNC was infiltrated with drug money?
I don't know about drug money. I can't say, but they certainly were.
You hear that? Philip Alexander, who sits as a junior minister in HDC, who saying he's a shadow MP. I never heard about a shadow MP before. He so have a hard on for my member of parliament, Stuart Young. That is my opinion. He said, all the radar, remember that? The radars, the blimp, the SUV, not the SUV, now, what do you call the thing? The OPVs, all that was dismantled by Kamala Prasad. Wasn't that to stop what? Human trafficking, drug running, gun, all them things she do. And they are alleging here, Philip Alexander is alleging here, or asking Kurt Mayhew whether or not he is saying that the UNC is infiltrated with drugs, money, or something to that effect, something so. So again, I go back. So Kamala Prasad, the sister, encouraging the US Army and Navy and Special Ops and all that for what they did out there in the open waters, and say kill them violently, drug runners and all that. And we heard Larry Lala SC states, I'm going to say it my way. Basically, how could you be supporting something like that where there's no trial, there's no arrest, there's nothing? Just kill people just like that. And then our commissioner of police now, he's endorsing what US do. So we ask him, is it that you're saying that that is what the Trinidad and Tobago police would be doing? So it ain't nothing about innocent until proven guilty. You just have to look like So I'm asking our Honorable Prime Minister, based on what Dr. Devan Maharaj said, based on what she junior minister in the Ministry of Housing said, and the things that Kurt Mayhew would have said, are you telling the US military, because you don't give them permission to come on Trinidad land, are you giving the US military the all clear to get rid of the people who it is alleged, because that's allegation, alleged in the UNC involved in human trafficking at ABCDFG? Asking a question, you know. All I can't say, I trying to put nothing in nobody's mind, I just asking a question because I want to understand what this thing is about. Let me continue. So I have to ask myself again with this SOE, are we in a permanent state of a SOE? Because the reason they start off saying why we're in the SOE is because they get intel that something was happening in the prison, there was going to be mayhem and whatever against government ministers. And then they come and say they neutralize the problem. Some of us thought, okay, if you neutralize the problem that you say why only had the SOE in the first place, well then we're supposed to be back to normal. Then they went for extension of the SOE. And then they were saying they stopped the Independence Parade because there's some bounty out on 3 ministers. I think Khadija Amin name was called, Barry Padat name was called, and Wayne Sturgeon name was called. No Independence Parade because of the fact that they're out there and blah, blah, blah. We said, okay. But then you see the CPL, one of the ministers, in fact, 2 of them, Mr. Amin and Padat was out there up in Turuba, enjoying the cricket, which is their right to enjoy Grand Lara Stadium. It's their right. Although they left it there when UNC was an office, PP, they never fixed it, nothing, but they full it up like it's them one alone. But no, beside the point. We see them up there and people are saying, okay, so you don't want to go to the Independence Parade, we have the whole place locked down with army personnel, Coast Guard, fire, prison, everybody have gone here, gone there, gone there. You're safe there. But you're safe in CPL cricket, where you don't have that kind of security. Okay. 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 Then we're hearing that, look at this picture. Look at this. Tell me who is this? I might be wrong. It might be the person. Look at this. Who that look like told you? It looked like to me, but in order to say it wasn't them. So it looked like to me that is the Honorable Barry Padarat. Not in a flip-flop, a flip-flops going in some chicken place. So what's up with that? Then the Prime Minister said a day of prayer and reflection. Everybody, no Independence Parade, prayers. And she organized the prayer. She turned up, she even sent a representative. I think, if I'm not mistaken, a representative from the opposition was there. I'm not too sure. She wasn't there. Listen to this one, too. Listen to this.
I telling you, let me tell you something. I am a UNC, as I said before, and but I will tell you, I prefer to see Kazim Hussein as the Minister of Agriculture rather than Ravi Ratiram. I prefer to see Colin Booth as the Minister of Finance over Dave Tanku. And I prefer, as a member of the UNC who served at the level and still have my UNC card, I prefer to see Dr. Rowley as Prime Minister over Kamala. Because the mere fact is that I do not think the motley crew that she has with her has the competence, have the interest of the country at heart to be a successful government. All the persons of quality have been purged from the party. So people like Ganga Singh. Ganga Singh is now a senior advisor for the ministry for the Guyanese government, right? Bhutiwari on the outside, Fuad Khan, Fazal Karim, all of them was crying crocodile tears. Fazal was purged from the party. Anybody of substance who could contribute have been jettisoned because they did not toe the blind loyalty line that Kamala wants.
I wonder how much people in Trinidad and Tobago saying that today. They wish right now Comembert was the Minister of Finance. They wish right now that Dr. Rowley, and I will add, because Dr. Rowley ended up retiring, Stuart Young was the Prime Minister right now. I wonder how much people are saying they shoulda, coulda, woulda today. Because just now is supposed to be budget reason, you know. And I suspect, this is my opinion I give it, that if Tanku don't know, he asked from Yelbo. He ain't if he come and good. And must he know how to present a budget for Trinidad and Tobago, because that going to be the test. I don't think he has the gumption like a Comembert with a team. Because it wasn't just Comembert who doing up the budget. It have a whole budgetary team there, a technocrats who does do what I have to do. Right now, I suspect, my opinion, they've tangled about some situation, so they know how to present that budget in the parliament. Right now, my opinion again, they must be wondering how to pay workers this month and next month, and for the rest of the year. Remember, my member of parliament, Stuart Young, at the time was Minister of Energy, and acting as Prime Minister, would have said in the UNC manifesto, they plan to devalue the TNT dollar to 15 to 1. 15 TT to 1 US. Because borrowing is becoming difficult. I put in that part. And we see that. We see, and they could form the opinion, they put their people in central bank. In First Citizen, I mean. Because First Citizen is the government bank. They had the biggest share. That is on the manifesto to devalue the dollar. We know once you can't get money borrow, locally, you have to go international or regional. And they don't lend you money if you have some kind of collateral or some way to pay back. And if your credit rating ain't good, the interest will be high as hell. And we know when Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley admitted office, and while Stuart Young was the Prime Minister, Moody and the IMF give Trinidad and Tobago good ratings with a growth in the economy, about some 2% or something. So since that, everything has gone haywire. So I'll come back to the point. Are we going to see the UNC going to the IMF? Because I don't start to talk about the public service, you know. First, they sent home. First, they came for the CPAP workers. Who was there for them? Then they came from LSA workers. They come for reforestation workers. They came for the central bank. Now it's T&Tech, it's WASA, and the list keep going on and on. They shut down CCC. youth programs, and they're going. And now they're talking about filling vacancy in the public service. So they're coming for the public service next. And when you turn wrong, because we don't have no unionists to stand up to workers, you know. So the union are not coming for public service or public servants and for workers. Because we have one of them who is now a minister. He said it. He said CPAP workers were collateral damage. Clyde Elder for saying that the tears of the 10,000 CPAP workers, them women, them mothers, they go fall on you. It will fall at you. And when you start to meet things, so remember, you say that those workers were collateral damage. You throw them to the side like old cloth, like a dirty rag, because them ain't have no children to mind, they ain't have no bills to pay. But when your wife get on the board, you was proud to say she deserve it. You was happy. So she's a lawyer and she's on a state board. You was happy for that. But you say the workers who done working for small money, them is collateral damage because you're in the government sitting now. When you was a union leader, Clyde Elder, you did fighting for 400 or 500 T&Tech workers who did get retrenched, and there's a retrenchment and severance benefit act. So they were still going to get money. It was your right to fight for them. But them get something. But 10,500 CPAP workers who ain't get nothing, get fired one time on the spot. You say them is collateral damage. Or they go feel it, Clyde Elder. Roger, or they go feel it. And he said, all go feel it, and all they go feel it by the tears. And then children who crying and say, Mommy, I'm hungry. The mothers and them want to watch the train going and sleep. Hungry, studying, where she going to get money to send them to school. Them tears go fall on all you. The ancestors ain't gonna be kind on all you. And all they like to pray. Pray for the salvation, for what to come when the ancestors decide to deal with all you. All the union men who are up in the government now and don't care about workers no more. So let me continue. So I went off there, and I forget about my point at the end of the day is this. Did all you sign up for this? Is it worth it? Was it worth it? To have a reckless prime minister like she come back, recklessness, grey goose, punching, in my opinion, on steroids. Saying all kind of things for people to say, yes, she brave, and yet that is not braveness, that is foolishness to the highest order. And Ralph Moraji is a big dunce. Carrie Commerce watching you with scorn for saying it's a dunce for saying that, and only supporting a situation that could be lawless. Let us obey the law. Let us watch the law. Let us respect people's sovereignty. This woman is giving away with your own because you already say Dr. Williams in fight for nothing. That is what Courtney who trying to put with the guns, intellectually fraud self, my opinion. People should watch you and turn their back on you, boy. Are you one of those who get your PhD in a flour mill? Asking a question. Let me just say, Papa. Let me just say this. Let me just say this. All they cry in this country, somehow, every day, always crying and we suffer. I was not part of the cry because I didn't suffer. Things may not have been 100%, but I didn't suffer. All they cry every day and the goats here, all they want a Pharaoh. All they cry every day. Rowley's a dictator. Rowley's a tyrant. Rowley wicked. The PNM wicked. The PNM don't like black people. The PNM don't like nobody. We suffering. We have no work. We suffering. We suffering. And the PNM ministers and then this every single day. While all saying that, cars selling out. Sets selling out. Price Mart selling out. Groceries was opening all over the place and selling out. I didn't say anything as some small store may have met challenges that even coming from COVID-19, but things was selling out. Things was nice. Independence Day was running. You're down in town with your children and you're watching and you're screaming when the fire truck let go the water. All the way, we want water. We want water. When the fire truck, big people and they jumping. All that's happening. But all they were saying we suffering. Now the suffering taking all your ass now. Go and pray to all your God and say all your sorry. Go and pray and say all your sorry. Because all they're praying, them praying and a big multi come from India, no problem with that, because we are multicultural, multi-ethnic, multi-religious country. And people will be amazed to see how all of us in our space does live together in relative peace when it comes to our way of worship. So they dress are big Indians, religious observance. I don't want to mispronounce the thing. I think it's some Ghana something. My apologies, no disrespect. They had a multi, they carry to the sea and they pray and they wipe and whatever the case. Let Orishas and them get one of the deity or two of the deity and do the same thing. Some are all in here. All of us live in relative peace, but I'm just showing you we just fight down certain things. We say they're doing obia. Tell me a line, you know. Okay? So I'll go back to what we're saying. Them praying. Only don't call on all the ancestors and the ancestors to help we know. And all those who was lying and saying we suffering, to ask for forgiveness. All they really don't want to see what is separation. All the children are the 90s and 2000s. 2021, all they know nothing but separation. Ask the children at the 50s and the 60s and even early 70s, and who went through the IMF with the NAR in 1986. Ask them about separation. All the young ones, they know nothing. All they feel this is a game and a fantasy. You could take up your remote and play a game, man. We call it Pac-Man, Ting Man game. Ting, 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 and then they get from there, they go in the bed, no one analyze it was a game. This ain't no game what happening here. And Kamala Persad is not brave when she talking and tripping. So all who looking at them, body, yeah, boy, that is it, man. Stand up. You see that will get we no way. Listen to this. Listen to this. That is foolishness. Listen to this. Where do you think is going? Hey, where this thing is? Whew, right. Listen to this.
Yes.
Almost every day for the past 2 weeks, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum has had to answer variants on the same question.
El presidente de Estados Unidos, Donald Trump.
Will she let US forces into Mexico? It started when President Trump signed an order directing the US military to target cartels.
No, pero no.
Not here, said Sheinbaum.
The United States is not going to come to Mexico with the military. We cooperate, we collaborate, but there will be no invasion. That is out of the question, absolutely out of the question.
She might have thought her point was made, but then, just over a week later, the US Drug Enforcement Agency, the DEA, said it was launching a cross-border operation with Mexican investigators. But Sheinbaum said her government hadn't been told.
La DEA emite el comunicado.
The DEA puts out the statement. We don't know what it's based on. We haven't reached any agreement with the DEA.
It's an uptick in tension, but the Trump administration has been pressing Mexico for some time to stop the flow of illegal drugs to the US and offering to send troops to do that.
If Mexico wanted help with the cartels, we would be honored to go in and do it. I told her that. I would be honored to go in and do it.
But Sheinbaum's always rejected that and said Mexico's already handling the problem. Operations against cartels have risen, and fentanyl seizures at the border have dropped by more than 50% in the last year. Mexico's also sent more than 50 suspected cartel members to the US, 26 of them this month. The Mexican government might have thought that with all that, it had done enough to avoid the US looking to operate south of the border. Perhaps not. And now this has become a political test for President Sheinbaum. How much can she resist? A lot of Mexicans are extremely prickly about United States involvement in their country. You have to remember that it was less than 200 years ago that the US invaded and then took more than half of their land. And there have been more recent cases of unwelcome interference. And while some Mexicans would want to see the US take more of a direct role in combating the cartels here, more would disapprove of it. Sheinbaum has meanwhile been clear that Mexico is already collaborating with the US in stopping drugs. She said the two countries have also drafted a new security agreement to be signed imminently. The problem is that, right now, President Trump may want more than Mexico is willing to offer. John Holman, Al Jazeera, Mexico City.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news, expert insight. Like, share, stay ahead.
Yeah, that is the Mexican president. He said already collaborating and coordinating. And she is not going to, that is what I hear, allow the Americans military to come on Mexican soil to fight any drug war or cartel. They're doing their part already and they're being XYZ. We Prime Minister, instead of saying that we'll collaborate, coordinate, she's given full blanche. They could come on we land. If she say Venezuela, go to Guyana. She knows very well that Venezuela and Guyana is an arbitration, but yes, Equibo. There was a peace talk held with the CARICOM, Maduro, Efrenali, all them went long to St. Vincent with heads of different Caribbean, CARICOM countries for member states, and the deal outs, it's an arbitration. But she continued to push this conversation. While another strong woman, that is a strong woman, is saying, listen, we welcome anything to help treat with the issue. We'll collaborate, we'll coordinate, but no, you can't come on our soil to them. We will do our part and we will XYZ. And you should see the show, they have been doing what they're doing. Just saying, I'm putting all those things on the table again. I want to make it abundantly clear. Anything done lawfully to help to treat with the scourge of human trafficking, gun running, and drugs in the Caribbean, I'm all for it, lawfully, all for it. Sovereignty of countries must be also recognized and respected. That's all I'm saying. So let me continue. As I end in here now, I want to say this. Well, I feel like the political leader of the People's National Movement, like she listening, I'm going to be very, what do you call the word? Oh, it started with a P. It's tickling in my mind there. Presumptuous. In saying like she listening to me, or somebody listening to me and telling she. Because I say she need to come out in front and stop leading from behind and talk about things. And the way the UNC going shatter back at every passing car. Well, she jumped out and she made a statement on the situation that happened not the Caribbean waters as such, but the waters out there with the Americans and the ship and the blowing up of the 11 people. She did make that. So kudos to you. One other thing, seeing that you're listening, I'll tell you. Don't make it things that I'm so lengthy. Good grief. Don't make it so lengthy. Look, Lara S.C. talk it. You can be more concise. Sure, don't write the thing, it doesn't have more concise, Dr. Rowley too. Because when they write the thing so long and stuff, you have to be very creative to keep the interest. You see, I read from Sir Michael Edmund Dehani, I think that is what it is. His thing does be long, but it's interesting. You want to see the next paragraph says. So kind of tighten on that. And next thing I want to tell you too, because as I say, must be listening. I must be one of the realest person when I come with you. Because you know where you're getting from me. I tell you straight. I do not think that you're strong enough, not physically, strong enough in the delivery and getting this thing done to take us to 2030. And it is based on just how I brought up all the evidence there to Kurt Mayhew when he said that no enslaved Africans came to Trinidad. And I was able to unearth historical evidence to show that 1606 enslaved Africans were here. When I'm trying to find things about your political career, what you would have done, I find nothing. When you ask people, because the next thing you can find nothing, you ask people what they're saying. So then what do I base it on to go contrary to what I say when I say that I find that you're weak? There's nothing. So you can't be upset with me for that, but I'm showing you I'm the realest one. So you see the people walling penny. Don't let them hype you up, eh? Don't let them hype you up and make them feel, let them make you feel that, yeah, everything in order. No, it's not. No, it's not. Because the same way, and that's what I say karma, eh? And you know what I say karma is? And what goes around comes around. And I'm putting this on the table. The same way that Member of Parliament Stuart Young was made to feel by some around him that yes, he has the support, and there was cutting the throat figuratively, while feigning, in my opinion, that support. It's the same way if you were, sorry, if you are part of that, Madam PL, it's the same way certain crew around you, yeah, they feel like it's an important thing and they plot it, eh? That is a logical thing for me to say. So, you'll get it real from Jennifer Frederick. Yes, that is my name. Jennifer Frederick. Jenn, 2 N's, 1 F. Jennifer. And just like Frederick Street, Frederick. That's my name. My whole proud slave master name. That's my name. I ain't changed it to an African name. Jennifer Frederick. I ain't changed it because that the name you get into it. Real stress sometimes, looking African like me, Rasta like me, and then you have a African name to go with it, especially when you ain't no big intellectual and no big this and that. You just have to be real. But at the same time, being real, I'm very conscious of being black, very conscious of being of African descent, very conscious of where African people are. Of course, we can do better, but to move as if we haven't done anything or we ain't doing anything, we ain't get anything, that would be a lie. This country full of African millionaires. This country full of African people are successful. Could more be? Of course, it will always have. But let us also celebrate those who have done well to give those who are struggling inspiration. But when you all continue to say African people, you have not know if it is, you send that message that all are we have nothing. So let me start to look at positive too. Put the positive out there too, and still talk about where we should be and shouldn't be. So as I was saying, political leader again. Don't get caught up with them who penny and thing, you know. Some of them say that you're weak, you know. Don't get up with them, you know. Where you came from, Jennifer Frederick, is real talk. I say again, and I will say it. And you know that to yourself. When you sit in a quiet moment, the honorable opposition leader, political leader, Penelope Beckers-Robinson, I am not doing this because I don't like you, or I don't like African people, or I hate you, or it has nothing to do with that. Our country is at stake. Our country is going down a road that if it can get pulled back very soon, it will be very, very difficult to do that. And the only stable party, this country, political party that this country ever had is the People's National Movement. So we're dependent on a People's National Movement. But we're dependent on all you in the national executive to be less selfish, to be more patriotic. It's not about all you. It's about the 10,500 workers from CPEP who get fired with the children. those from reforestation who get fired, those from all the other areas who get fired, all the youth programs that they abandoned, everything that our young people are dependent on and our people are dependent on being pulled away from us. History they want to take from us too, some of them in the UNC. That's how serious it is. And we have a prime minister now that you admit, opposition leader, that is reckless. So we depended on a people's national movement. I am saying, when you sit in your quiet moments at home, you call it just our quiet moments. Forget about you always wanted to be the first political leader of the PNN, Prime Minister Trinidad and Tobago. Forget that. Ask yourself if you could really do this work. Ask yourself if you could really do this work and if you had a team with you to do this work, because this is hard work, plenty work. This ain't no game with who cussing on who. You see that is a little comedy break. That is like comedy break. We have serious things in this country. The PNM has serious things to deal with. Them thing is comedy break and bacchanal thing. And the bacchanal is nice and thing, but the country is dependent on you. Mrs. Penelope Beckles, Honorable Opposition Leader, Political Leader. Me, this is one person. This is Jennifer Frederick again. I'm not seeing you able to do it. People say you could change and all that change. Yeah, of course, miracles do happen. But I keep saying again, because I did some psychology, I may not be able to prescribe drugs, but I could have a conversation on psychology. I went to UA and did that. Yes, I did. It is very highly unlikely somebody your age will change the modus operandi just like that. It don't really happen. You might try, you might see little spurts of it and thing, but soon you'll go back to what is comfortable and customary. And you don't have any history of being a debater, being a combative debater, having done anything in any ministry, having been a frontline speaker, nothing at all. And we need somebody with that kind of oomph, if you want to call it that. This is not normal times where you could get away just, no, you have to be on top of your game, and I don't think that you are. So I'm saying all this to say, if you win, we win. I don't see you winning. But if you win, we win at the end of the day. But I want you to search yourself in your quiet moment. Don't study the noise who ball in matter. Yes, and it's supposed to be it. And don't study that noise. Sit down in a quiet moment and ask yourself if you could take PNM to the next level. Because remember, that's talking about investors, we're talking about getting the 18-year-old to 40-something-year-old to come to vote. And then when coming to no party, we had two political leaders in the 70s and no political leaders going to the 70s. No young people between the ages of 18 to 40 going to gravitate to the People's National Movement. Those in the 50s and the 60s, 70s, only know that lockdown to a certain extent. But you want new voters, 18 to about 40, 45. And you, madam, opposition leader, plain talk bad manners. You can't pull that crew. You can't pull them crew of people. So sit down and think about it. The ball is in your court. Everything is up to you, madam. So let me end tonight by saying again, thank you all for staying locked on, tuning into Let Me Talk the Thing. Let me see people on this side. Let me call out some people here that I really hope they are across on Facebook. People like Margaret, Davison Patterson, Yvette Curvin, Angela Rodriguez Lacroix, Ginger Pinder, Lona Ortega Manette, Sarah Richardson, Emmeline Harvey, Christopher Coffey, Erica Richardson, Keith Marshall, Charles Chris, Ann Shepard, Ophelia Boyce, Andrew Horton, Alison Boyce, Helen Russell House from Pleasantville, Roxanne King, Melka, Balti, Hadara, Ruthven, Dr. Lloyd Springer, Dr. Lloyd Straker, Lucy Brown, Cheryl Seals, my old friend from Pune, Cheryl Hall, Alison Phillip, Governor Suzanne, Francia Panko, E.A. Shorty, Bernadine Ander, the Jocelyn, Angus Cato, Victoria from up in San Juan, she old friend, McDonald Bantu, Katia Raymond Felicia, Elise Alexander, Joyce Nieves, Margaret Thomas, Angela Sobas, and so many more. So we have a cross here. Jimmy, Jan Ashford is a little girl. She looking for money. Yeah, that's how I was tell him don't write and tell me nothing. I don't like men who does wear panty. Plain and short. We ain't talking about men. I ain't talking about sexuality here now. So, people just get all up in the feeling. We ain't talking about sexuality. I talking about them man who does wear panty. Bacchanal man kind of thing. Makome man kind of behavior kind of thing. I ain't about them kind of thing, right? It's either a hey only. Right, so they say the Queen tell me this is the way to talk to. Yes, and I've been very serious about it because I think people misunderstanding this whole thing. And I just wanted a quiet moment to sit down and forget about what she wanted and her ambitions, because it's gone past ambition. No, this thing is dead. This shit is real. It gone past ambition. Sit down and talk to yourself. And if at the end of it you feel you're still the best person to take the PNM to 2030, well, all I will say, may the gods be with us. Brian, Batiste, Benny Q, Jimmy, David Clark, Mr. Gibson, Kim, Annette, Mona, Glennis, Lucy, Diamond, Miriam, Rookman, let me see who again here. All those who are locked on, I want to thank you all. Zara, everybody who is on the Bounce Up channel, it is an honor and privilege to have you all listening to me. All my peeps on Facebook is always an honor and privilege. I started off doing this thing with about 3 people. My husband was one person, my girlfriend from Pune, and somebody, Miss Melka, I think it was, they used to have somebody named Miss Gloria Roberts, about 4 or 5 of them. I started off with that. I used to be so excited just to see the 5 of them there, whatever it is. And it has grown to some extent. I want to thank you all for making it possible. I am still on about numbers. So if me has 700 and 1,000, that I'd be glad if I reach to that. If I don't, I cool. I happy imparting my information to whoever is there. I'm not the one to look for the glitz and the glamour and oh God, 800 people. That is not the important thing to me. The important thing is that people feel I have something worthwhile to say and they're willing to stay and listen. And I cool with that. If you all have any ideas or anything, or feel free to get in contact with me. If you all find something I should say, shouldn't say, whatever, I cool. I cool with it. I don't get upset with them kind of thing. Okay, it is what it is, right? So I want to tell you all again, love you all. See you all on Friday, God's Spear, when I come with something fresh, something new. This is your girl Jen, Sister Jenny, Auntie Jenny. If you want to get formal, listen to Jennifer Patrick. Please don't let them rewrite our history. Get the correct history. Check with me who and them who talking this foolishness. Right now, our country is almost in crisis mode. And we who love this country, whether it's Indian, Chinese, Syrian, whoever you are, you love this country, you're a patriot. Whether you're UNC, PNN, TPP, whatever the case may be, you could never seriously sit down and say what the UNC is doing. Again, the quiet moment I talking about, when is you are alone and yourself and your God or whatever. You sit down there, you could never say the UNC is doing the best thing for this country or the country is going good. You could never say that. To the opposition leader again, I said, sit in a quiet moment, ma'am. Forget all the noise. Because some of them holding on to your skirt tail or your pants tail because they want something. Me, Jennifer Frederick, don't want nothing from you. Okay, here's what I want. I want you to be the best person to lead the PNM into victory. That is what I want. I don't want a contract from you. I don't want nothing to eat, nothing to drink, no ticket to go, no party, no lime. That's not my concern. So I'm telling you straight. I just wanted to be the best to lead us party into 2030. And because of the things I said before, I do not think you are the person to, but that choice had to be yours to know what to do or not to do. But it's too much at stake, ma'am. So any games and bad mind and vindictive, we gone past them thing. Wherever all they had, all they put us in a corner somewhere and done with that. It's about this country right now. We're not in a good state. And again, I saying it. Who could cuss, ain't cuss, that ain't going to change me saying what I'm saying. I do not think you're the best person to carry it forward. That's just me. Yeah? No hate intended, no disrespect intended. So I want to thank you all again for staying up and tuning, and I will see you all on Friday Gospel. So, director, you can play me that song. I'm real tired now. I need to go and let me see if I have it here. You all just listen to this. I think it's somewhere here. Where is it? Give me a minute. I saw it here, you see the thing, and then when you look again, you see it. So director, if you listen to me play the three canal, you know. Okay.
Now it's time to boom, 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 boom. This is history making. This is history taking. This is history making now. 1 boom, 2 boom, 3 boom up history. Rock so man come to boom up history. Boom, boom, boom up history. Oh, I come to boom, boom, boom up history. Boom, 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 boom up history. Boom, boom, boom up history. Oh. Ever since the dawn of the story, it's he who does write down the story. Does turn round and call it history, oh yeah. Then they fill your head with all kind of story till the truth becomes a mystery. Now it's time to boom up history, oh yeah. I come to boom, boom, boom up history. Boom, 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 boom up history. Boom, boom, boom up history, oh. That's what I come to boom, boom, boom up history. Boom, 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 boom up history. Boom, boom, boom up history. Oh. Man, tell me what we teaching the children, what to follow the system. The system don't care one damn thing about we. Man, know yourself and know your history. Otherwise, you really cannot be free to boom up history. Oh, I come to boom, boom, boom up history. Boom, 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 boom up history. Boom, boom, boom up history. Oh, that's what I come to boom, boom, boom up history. Boom, 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 boom up history. Boom, boom, boom up history. Oh, rap some man come to cut and clear the air. Rap some man want the people to prepare. Rap some man come to make or break it. Have some history we cannot face it. Rap some man come to right the wrongs. Rap some man bring Babylon down. Rap some man stand firm and hold the faith. 1 boom, 2 boom, 3 boom, down the gate. Boom, boom, boom up history. Boom, 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 boom up history. Boom, boom, boom up history. Oh, rap some man come to boom, boom, boom up history. Boom, 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 boom up history. Boom, boom, boom up history. Oh.
Sweet.
Yeah, there's never a break for that water. so far. I was caught and I was brought here from Africa. I'm a slave from a land so far. I was caught and I was brought here from Africa. Well, it was licks like fire from the white slave master every day. Got down on the knees, weeks and weeks before we crossed the seas to reach in the West Indies. Then they make me work. I said I work. Good Lord, no pay. I toil, I toil, I toil. I say I toil so hard each day. I'm dying. I'm crying. The English slave master standing there with the gun. Oh, I know he gonna shoot to kill. So I stay and I pray, but I'm planning still. I study night and day how to break away. I got to make a brilliant escape. But every time I think about the whip and them dogs, my body does start to shake. He made me work. I said I work. Oh, oh, Lord, no pay. I toil, I toil, I toil, I toil, I toil hard each day. I'm dying. I'm crying. Hope that the boss would have listened to me someday. Although he knew my request was small, 'twas the sting of the whip there to answer me when I called. We had to chant and sing to express our feeling to that wicked and cruel man. That was the only medicine to make him listen. And his so calypso began. He made me work and said I work. Oh, Lord, no pay. I toil, I toil, I toil, I toil. I say I toil hard each day. I'm dying. I'm crying. Till one day somebody said, free the bloody slave. I was then put out on the street. I had no clothes, I have no food, I have no place to sleep. I had no education, no particular ambition. This I cannot conceal. Forgot my native culture, live like a vulture. From the white man I had to steal, because he made me